Ginger Conlon, Editorial Director of One-to-One Media, and I'm here with Jodie Sangster, who is the CEO of the Australian Direct Marketing Association. We are delighted to have you here today.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to ask you, what are the big trends that you're seeing in direct marketing in Australia?
I think the big trends that we're seeing are, well, there's a couple. I think first of all, we've seen the number of channels expand hugely. So we've gone from having one or two or three channels that marketers use to a huge variety of channels, and particularly a huge interest in social media. There's also still a big focus on search, and then obviously mobile is a very big issue for marketers in Australia. So I think that's one issue. I think the second big issue that we have is around data. That now there is so much data being produced, and companies are really almost overwhelmed with the amount of data that they can gather. But it's really about, okay, how do I get insight from that data? So that's something that companies are starting to look at and really find some answers to. And I think the third area, which really kind of follows on from that, is integration. That companies are really wanting to integrate their marketing, but that's not often an easy thing to do because companies have been set up with data going to different silos. And now we're trying to find ways to pull that together. And so it's a big trend at the moment. People are talking about integration and trying to do integration.
Right. Sounds very familiar.
Yes.
So it is. So I know that you were just at the DMA annual in Boston. So were you hearing a lot of the same here? And how are you seeing kind of the trends in Australia and here kind of converging, and where are they maybe a little different?
I think that they're very similar. And actually, it's not just the US. I mean, in my role, I look after I have relationships with DMAs all around the world, and they're all saying the same thing, that these trends are being seen in their markets to different extents.
Right.
I think the differences will be obviously that some countries will be a lot further ahead in terms of certain channels, for example. So South Africa is very far advanced in mobile marketing, or Brazil is very far advanced in digital marketing. So there'll be kind of slightly different spins on the same problem. But we're all trying to look at these issues and trying to come up with solutions.
Right. One other question for you. A lot of what's happening, especially around the data area and some of the new channels, has a lot of buzz around privacy and how that's kind of evolving, or what people should be paying attention to, or marketing executives rather. What are you seeing in that area as kind of the key concerns that consumers have that marketers really need to educate them on?
Yeah, I mean, privacy is a big issue, and it's going to continue to be a big issue because the more that we understand and know about our consumers, obviously the more possibility there is for abuse. So I think that privacy remains a really big issue. In terms of kind of how that's being dealt with, I think the problem we have at the moment is that there's a kind of a divide between the government really wanting to bring in legislation quite quickly when really the market hasn't had a chance to evolve. So in Australia we do have privacy law, and we have got a government who is actively looking out there to see, okay, what's going on in the rest of the world, and perhaps do we need to regulate this area. What we've tried to do is to bring in codes of practice to deal with that, to have an interim solution so that we can at least see how the market's going to evolve before we kind of put legislation in place. But in terms of what companies need to do, I think they need to be very transparent, and that's really the key to this. I believe that consumers don't have so much of a problem with their data being used, providing that they're told up front, this is what's going to happen with your data,
right.
and that data is used in that way. Because at least then they're kind of agreeing in advance to, yes, I understand what you're going to do, and that's okay with me. So I think it's about transparency.
Right, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being with us
Pleasure.
today.
It's nice to be here.